Tea is the second most drank beverage in the world after water, but how does it get from the fields into retailers like Safeway and Costco? Well, today we're going to be going over all of that, including the history of tea, the agricultural and cultural importance, and more. Camellia sinensis, also known as tea, is of the Fabaceae family. Some important key visuals to think of when you think of tea is that it is shiny, it's originally green before it is dried. It's a simple leaf with an alternate leaf structure. It's elliptic in shape and has cerulate edges. Its growth habit, tea can grow up to 2 meters long. However, it is often pruned to maintain a more manageable height. It grows in bushes, and it grows best in humid and warm climates. Tea is native to East Asia, and let's start with the history. So there's a lot of speculation about the history of tea. However, it's often told in a little folk story. It's said that in about 2000 BC, Chinese Emperor Shennong was drinking boiling water in his garden, where tea leaves just so happened to fall into the boiling water. And then when he finally took a sip, he realized that it had a nice refreshing taste, and that was the origin of tea. However, many historians don't believe this to be true, as there is more evidence that it was drank in 1600 BC and not 2000 BC. In North China, tea was actually known as the slave's drink because nobility drank yogurt. However, in southern China, tea was accepted by all classes and drank by everyone. So it's just really interesting to see how a cup of tea could kind of shift in different regions and mean different things. Tea made its way to the rest of Asia in about the 9th century, and then later in the 1600s, tea made its way through Europe, and shortly after it was introduced to Europe, it was introduced to the Americas. And actually, the last place to get tea in their country was Australia, and that was in 1788. Tea's current importance to agriculture: tea has set the standards for sustainability in the tea industry. Companies have begun to get their tea from small, more rural farms instead of being mass produced. And they're doing this because it has stood the test of time. In countries like Sri Lanka and Vietnam, farm costs would drop. However, tea production would rise even during extreme time periods of drought. So it really just shows that to be more sustainable, it doesn't cost anymore and can maintain the same standards as less sustainable methods would have. So it's important to a geographic region. I'm going to focus on China today because tea is important to many different regions, and China is actually the largest producer of tea. So we're just going to focus on them for today. As stated, tea is a major part of Chinese history, and fun little factoid, during the Ming Dynasty, 1300s to the 1600s, China became very powerful, and tea was such a staple in the Chinese diet that it was not replaceable. So it became an incredibly powerful economic and political tool, actually, and they would trade tea for horses to maintain their militia. Today, China makes a lot of their money from tea. Roughly $86 million comes from tea alone. And tea houses and tea ceremonies are still a super huge important part of Chinese culture today, and that just shows how its history just transcended to the modern day. And tea is still drank in China on a regular basis, and again, is just a huge part of their life. Commercial cultivation of tea. It goes through quite the process. Tea is hand or machine picked. It begins the drying process. Throughout all of these different stages that we're going to be talking about, actually, tea is just going to be continuing to dry. Tea is then oxidized and then broken down in barrels. This allows oxygen to enter the tea leaf, furthering the oxidation as well as the drying process. Once it reaches a certain stage of oxidation, tea will be fixated. When tea leaves are fixated, this is the final stage of oxidation, and this is actually how you get different types of tea, like black tea or white tea, green tea. It will determine the taste, aroma, and color. Tea is then cut to size and dried. With its final stage of drying, it's then packaged up, shipped off, and goes into retailers like Safeway or Costco. I kind of went over this a little bit, but tea, the different colors and tastes of tea that we see, again, white tea, yellow tea, green tea, oolong, and all the different types of tea are harvested from the same plant. However, it's the stage at which they're fixated and oxidized that determines their taste, aroma, and color. I think this is really interesting that you can get such a variety from one certain type of plant, and I can't really think of another example where that's possible except with tea. Tea is incredibly important. From the cultural to the agricultural aspects, tea has shown its significance in different eras and different types of production. So the next time you are drinking tea in the morning, just think about the journey that it had to take from all the way in 1600 BC to now, and just think about the journey that it took to get into your morning cup. Thank you.